Leveling up extreme business growth through raising your game. When what was once extraordinary becomes ordinary, you know you've leveled up.
Hello and welcome to the Leveling Up Podcast with me, George Swift. The Leveling Up Podcast is here to give you the personal development, the entrepreneurial development and the business growth that you, the ambitious business owner, desires. I'm here to give you the inspiration, the motivation, but above all else, as always, to challenge your aspirations to take you and your business to the next level. Don't forget, subscribe and never miss an episode. And wow, given the current climate, given the times that we are currently going through, there's never been a more important time, in my opinion, to subscribe to this podcast. I know there's a lot of information out there right now. There's a lot of gurus out there. There's a lot of people now telling you exactly what to do and how to think and what strategy to implement. This podcast, right back in its conception over 120 episodes ago, was all about helping business owners just like yourself to evaluate themselves, evaluate the marketplace, their businesses, to perceive themselves differently, to challenge themselves to think differently. There's, little in here which is an ABC plan. I know I don't do blueprints. What I offer is more of a template thinking. So here's some things to think about. How does this relate to you and what you're doing? Here's what's going on in the world, or here's, something to consider. How does that impact you? How does that reflect in terms of what you're doing as a business owner? So I've always been that guy that I want to challenge you to think for yourself. I want to challenge you to come up with your own solutions and ideas. What I'll do is just use all my knowledge and all my experience and expertise and hopefully some wisdom here to help you to navigate life, to navigate business as best you possibly can. And given the current chaotic crisis in the world right now, to help you navigate those the best you possibly can. In today's episode, I talk about getting ready. That opportunity is coming soon. I know it might not feel it 100%, but by the time you get to listen to this episode, there is going to be opportunity. If not right now, it's coming very soon. And therefore, you want to make sure that you are ready for that. The content that you're about to hear comes from a mini session that I rolled out to my Success Group members, my Success Group Plus members, and my Extreme Growth Mastermind members. Success Groups is all about ambitious entrepreneurs. It's helping people set out their agendas, set out their goals, stick to those goals, do what they need to do, whilst also looking for opportunities to improve themselves as business owners and to improve their business's performance. Right now, given the nature of the crisis, we are doubling down on our focus on our current members, but I also want to make the content that I feel is relevant to my podcast listeners available to you to help you navigate this journey as well. So I'll talk to you on the other side of this. Hope you enjoyed this episode. Opportunity is out there. It is coming, and you do want to make sure you are ready for it. I'll speak to you on the other side. Hi guys, just a quick message here from me about something that came out of our Success Group Plus board meetings this morning. And it's a conversation we're having about, kind of sales and can we sell to our prospects right now? Are people buying, etc.? And I thought this would follow on nicely from some of the content that I did just very recently for you. And it was really mapping out the emotional journey that you've probably gone on, I've gone on, and almost certainly most of your clients, if not all of your clients, will have gone on, and your potential prospects. And that is this. When the news first came in, when this thing first hit, it was like a tidal wave. And for most of us, we went into a state of shock. Okay, we had to process the severity of it, the gravity of it. The messaging that was coming through the media was, end of days, end of the world, Armageddon style reporting. And most of us, we went into this state of shock, right? From shock, we then naturally go into almost like that panic. So we go into the terror and the panic, again, not made any less likely to happen based on the media coverage and the shock and awe campaigns that the media always has. And obviously in this current situation, it's constantly looking for the next shocking headline, the next light it can shine at you brightly so that your attention is drawn towards it and not to its competitors. And I said this earlier today. I said, don't kid yourself and think that the news is there to educate you or inform you. You know, first and foremost, it's there to get your attention, to grab your attention. And therefore, just like marketing and branding and stuff, it's trying to put out the big headlines. It's trying to, play on the psyche of the individual to draw them in and lure them in. And let's be honest, fear does that more than absolutely anything else. So again, it's normal. Went from shock into this fear, panic, terror maybe. From that, we go into like maybe a freeze response. I always say, we talk about the fight or flight response. For most people, fighting is a secondary option. This is a natural thing evolutionary wise. We have been fighters for some time, and all animals have that fight in them. But actually, most animals will freeze or flee, right? That's what most animals do. It's self-preservation. So actually, in us, our natural response is to potentially freeze or to flee, okay? Maybe fight. The fight tends to come a little bit later. So we tend to go into this freeze response, this flee response. And then what we do is we kind of go numb, right? And when that kind of numb, freezing response, we go from maybe the hiding under the duvet and pretending it's not happening to this really is happening. And we're in this numb place, we're not necessarily in terror anymore, panic anymore, but we're numb. And it's like, what the hell do I do from here? What does this mean? And your brain is just processing huge amounts of data, huge amounts of negative data, and it's trying to do threat responses, and it's trying to look at, how do I get back to normal, and all this stuff's going on, and we end up a little bit numb, okay? So most of us, we've gone through this period or are going through this right now, and so your clients. Once we come out of that numb period, we may go then into the fight period, right? So now, when fleeing and freezing doesn't work, we're kind of cornered. If you think about cornering an animal, it has no other options. If you give most animals a way out, they'll take the way out, right? If you're out in the wilderness and that, you give most animals, even animals far tougher than us, far harder than us, meaner than us, most of them will take the easy option if they can. If you give them a way out, they will. You corner an animal, even the most weakest, vulnerable animal will attack, right? So what happens then is we go to this place where the fleeing didn't work, the freezing didn't work. So now what we're left with is, okay, so we go numb for a bit, and then we go into this maybe fight, right? And we come out like, I'm going to, who can I fight? Who can I get angry with? Who can I blame? Who can I, whatever. And then you'll come out of that, and as you come out of that, you'll start to get into the new normal. I know it sounds crazy, but we start to normalize. I don't know about you, already just a couple of weeks into this thing, you're starting to feel like normal again. It starts to feel, okay, so this is what we're dealing with. This is the facts. This is, this is the stories that are coming in. We don't get to go out anymore. I don't get to go to the gym. I don't get to do this sort of work and go to the office. And we're all taking up external exercise when we never used to, because now we can go out for just a time. So they're thinking, right, I'm going to take that time. But we start to then get this new normal, for you guys at home with parents, or our parents, you're starting to, doing homeschooling, and it's maybe starting to normalize there. And so as the chaos starts to pass through, as the numbness passes, we, even when the fight response kind of passes, we then find ourselves in the new normal. Once we find ourselves in the new normal, from there, we have our opportunities to market, opportunities to sell. If you follow me on social media, if you see me on social media, you'll see very little going out. I'm putting out some of the messages that I'm putting out to you guys in Success Groups and our Extreme Growth Masterminds. Some of those messages are being converted into the podcast and put out as a podcast, and you might see some of those out there. But I'm generally not putting a lot of stuff out into the external world. One, because we are committed to putting our resources and our energy onto you, our current members. But also, to be honest with you, it's just noise out there at the moment. Everyone's panicking. People are trying to capitalize on that panic. All these webinars and podcasts, or not podcasts, webinars and online groups and sessions and things, they're all playing on this, not playing in a mean way or a sinister way, but they're jumping in on the fear and the terror and the panic and that. And I'm kind of, I don't get caught up in that. My content's for you guys, and I'm going to hold back a little bit, and I will start putting my messaging back out there again as things start to normalize again. At the moment, I'll just be another voice, another just more noise out there in the marketplace. So for me, I'm holding back a little bit. I'm waiting for this renormalization to happen, and when we find ourselves in the new normal, people will start to ask themselves the right questions, such as, what do I do now in a positive way? Where do I put my energy? What should I be doing with my money, my business? What comes next? Maybe people start thinking about, 2 months, 3 months or whatever, and thinking the other side of this. And, just a week ago, 2 weeks ago, it's probably hard to think about this coming to an end. It was hard to think about what comes next. But now we're in that position where we're thinking, right, okay, so this thing will come to an end, and what does life look like? That's our opportunity in the nicest possible way, right? Not to exploit it, but that's our opportunity to have proper, decent conversations with our prospects and our clients at that point, right? And for many of those people, myself included, maybe you as well, we're finding ourselves coming to that place of that renormalization now. And in that moment, we can have the sensible conversations about, what we might be able to do to support and help these people to, number one, I keep saying, number one, your core message should be to limit any damages from this thing. Number two, to look for any opportunities and maximize any opportunity that may be out there right now. They might be slim on the ground, but they're definitely out there. And number three, get ready to go once things go back to normal or go back to a version of normal. And, we're going back to business as kind of inverted commas normal, whatever normal might look like on the other side of this, because there may be some changes in terms of how we do business, our clients do business. There's going to be some group psychological changes as well to the marketplaces and that. These things having a profound impact on people. So, what I'm talking about is the other side of this. There'll be, the real world again and real life again, and it might be slightly different to what it was before, but we get going. So you want to make sure you're ready to go at that point. Your clients should be in exactly the same place as that, in my opinion. You need to educate them on that. You play a vital part in that. And one of the, Louise in my Success Group Plus today, she said a great term, which is, she questioned herself for a while, which is, how am I relevant right now? And I love that question, because the question, I think, then leads you to some great answers, right? So rather than the open-ended negative connotation of how am I relevant right now, what you start to think is actually more along the lines of how am I relevant right now? And I think that's really relevant. Find your relevance to your prospects and your clients. What will happen is you'll be able to market to them, communicate to them, sell to them in a very honest. And we're 2 weeks in. Let's dig in. We will get through this together. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed that content. I'll repeat the message I said to these guys. It will pass. We will get to the other side of this. And you know what? Life will resume. Business will resume. There may be some changes on the other side of this that we have to navigate through as well. But right now, it's really important that you don't bury your head in the sand. It's really important that you limit any of those damages that are out there right now that might be threatening you right now. Maximize on those opportunities that are available to you right now, and get ready to go once we get to the other side. I will see you next time. Until then, as always, be successful. But as I say during these current times, stay safe, stay healthy, and stay in the game.
Leveling up. Extreme business growth through raising your game. When what was once extraordinary becomes ordinary, you know you've leveled up.